Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, I'm going to be breaking down what I think a contract for Sam Darnold with Las Vegas could potentially look like. I'm also going to be talking about all the NFL Combine meetings that the Raiders had, and we're going to be talking about the big-time NFL news that you need to see. However, though, at the time that I was live, this news literally just ended up coming in. Max Crosby on his podcast said that he would entertain the idea, and he likes the idea of Aaron Rodgers playing for the Raiders in Las Vegas this season. Tomorrow, I am going to drop a major video on Aaron Rodgers, Max Crosby. Be on the lookout for it. It's going to be dropping here on the Raiders Report tomorrow afternoon. Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, I got some good Sam Darnold rumors, and my objective today is to make everybody around the silver and black be okay with the idea of signing this quarterback right here. Also, a lot of NFL news happened. A lot of dominoes started to fall, which is going to really impact NFL free agency. I'll give you the biggest moves that happened today. One that's going to make a lot of people smile. And then, if you've been wondering, Mitch, who are all the players that the Raiders met with at the NFL Combine? I have all 35 meetings for the silver and black at the Combine. Before we break all of this stuff down, huge shout out to our sponsor here, Panda Supps. Use code DRAFT for 25% off at pandasupps.com, and if you spend over $100, he's also going to throw in 2 items in there for free. If you live in the United States domestically, then you get those items. If you don't, I'm sorry, move to the greatest country on earth. Let's talk about Sam Darnold potentially going to the Raiders, and the Vikings did not franchise tag Darnold, which was expected. I also put out a video late last night kind of around that this was the move that the Vikings were going to do. Also, according to reports, Minnesota just thought that it was a little bit too much money to tag Darnold when they also had J.J. McCarthy on their roster. Here's the thing. The Raiders are 100% interested in Darnold. This is not new information. It has been reported by Adam Schefter. It has been reported by every basic actual NFL insider. And I know that originally it was reported that the Raiders are not going to spend big on a quarterback. That was reported by The Athletic. I'm going to take what Adam Schefter had to say over anybody from The Athletic. And here have been the quarterbacks that I know for a fact that have been linked to Las Vegas. Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. Those are starting caliber options. But it's something that Pete Carroll has said over and over again. He has said that he wants to add competition to the quarterback room. I'm telling you right now, Zach Wilson is on the Raiders' radar. It's a fact, but it's not on the radar in terms of being a starter. It's on the radar to be that quarterback, too, to battle it out with Aiden O'Connell, because that's what Pete Carroll quarterback rooms have always looked like. So I wanted to show you how much money it could potentially cost for all 4 of these options. Spotrac is on the left. PFF projections are on the right. So I just wanted you to be able to compare them because you can kind of get a sense of what it could potentially cost. And the biggest factor in there, I would say, is Justin Fields. And based on a lot of the things that we have heard here at the Raiders Report, I do think that you could see Fields getting at minimum $11 to $15 million per year on a contract. So here's your opportunity to be the GM. You're sitting in a room right now with John Spytek. Should the Raiders go out and sign Sam Darnold after seeing some of those other free agent options out there? But you also got to understand this. And I know I'm somebody that wants the Raiders to draft a quarterback too. But you got to understand, Cam Ward is the only quarterback that the Raiders would consider starting in year 1. They wouldn't start Shador. They wouldn't start Jackson Dart. They wouldn't start Will Howard, Jalen Milroe. Doesn't matter the name. They wouldn't start in year 1. So no matter what, you got to add a quarterback early in free agency, which is exactly what Las Vegas is going to do. Should the Raiders sign Sam Darnold? Type Y for yes, type N for no. This is going to be the YouTube ad break. Let me know down below. All right, here's my answer. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Yes, if it is a contract designed like Geno Smith. And remember how I said at the beginning of today's show, my objective is to make you feel good about Sam Darnold. No, if he's the long-term answer. I know he's only 27 years old, but Darnold's got to be a bridge quarterback. A bridge quarterback with the idea that in 2 to 3 years, you're getting ready to hand the keys off and you can move forward unless Darnold goes out there and wins the AFC West, gets into the AFC Championship game, wins a few playoff games, then we can revisit this idea. But to me, Darnold and Fields are the best option in free agency. Darnold, if you're looking to spend 25 to 30 million, Fields, if you're looking to spend somewhere in that 10, 15, maybe $20 million per range. If you haven't already joined the Raiders Report family, I want you to. I appreciate everyone Let us help us get to 188,000 subscribers. My man Tuna is looking down, very proud of the community and family that we've built. So don't get it twisted. This is not a YouTube channel. This is a family. And if you want to join the family in the craziest offseason of all time, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So to make everybody happy today, I want to make sure that you feel okay about the Raiders signing Sam Darnold. And I really think that there is a lot of things that should scare you when you bring in a quarterback that's thrown for 35 touchdowns only once, that's really only had one good season. So how can I convince you that you shouldn't be scared? Let's first talk about this. I want Raiders fans to at least have a little bit of confidence in Sam Darnold. He threw for 35 touchdowns. It's not a fluke throwing for 35 touchdowns. In fact, I went through and I looked at every single quarterback in NFL history that has ever thrown for 35 touchdowns. I think that there is only one out of the 70 names that won't be a future Hall of Famer, and his name is Blake Bortles. Also, Darnold is the very first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 35 touchdowns and not return to the team that he was on. Was it a weird year? Yeah, no doubt about it. Does Kevin O'Connell deserve flowers? Yeah, no doubt about it. But if Kevin O'Connell was able to make Sam Darnold look like that, whether you have confidence in Sam Darnold or not, I have a lot of confidence in this coaching staff from top to bottom. And because Darnold was able to show you what he did with Kevin O'Connell, I think what the Raiders have in this staff from top to bottom is just as good as what Kevin O'Connell is and what he has over there in Minnesota. So you know what? I do have confidence in this staff. And I'm not even sitting up here going, I love Sam Darnold, I love Justin Fields. I don't love either of those options. They are okay options. I am confident in those options because I have so much confidence in this staff. First, you get to learn from Tom Brady, which he's arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. He is the greatest quarterback of all time. He has had success with two different organizations from Tampa Bay to New England. And the fact that Brady is clearly heavily involved in this entire situation should make you feel better about the way that this organization is going to operate. Well, what about John Spytek? You get to work with a GM who has done great work with journeyman bridge quarterbacks from Baker Mayfield. I think that one worked out pretty well. He also was able to win a Super Bowl with a guy named Tom Brady, a quarterback that a lot of people thought was washed, ends up joining down there in Tampa Bay. They end up winning the Super Bowl, beating Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. What about a guy named Pete Carroll? He's one of three coaches to win a national championship and a Super Bowl. He helped Russell Wilson get his career going. He also helped Geno Smith get his career off the ground. If you're Sam Darnold, you got to look at what he did for Geno Smith and go, all right, yeah, I can absolutely do that as well. What about Chip Kelly? Kelly just won a national championship with Will Howard, and it's not a secret. I don't think Will Howard's very good, but if Chip Kelly can make Will Howard look like that, imagine what he could do for a quarterback with a very similar skill set in Sam Darnold. He's got head coaching experience. He's got OC experience. And then when you add a good quarterback coach in Greg Olsen, who has worked with people from the Sean McVay tree, and has also recently worked with Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, Geno Smith. You might not want Greg Olsen, the OC, but Greg Olsen, the quarterback coach, is damn good. I have said it before. I think the Raiders are the perfect destination for Sam Darnold. And I don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be the perfect fit for the Raiders. To me, all I can control then is the contract. And the contract is what scares people from Darnold, because I get it. I don't want to pay Darnold $40 million a year. I don't want to give him a Baker Mayfield type of deal, 4 years for 160. But if the reports are true that the Raiders won't spend big on quarterback and that the Raiders could potentially offer Darnold a Geno Smith type of contract, I think that you guys should be excited about that, because Geno signed a 3-year, $75 million deal back in 2023. If you don't know what that contract looks like, this is how it looked. It was 3 years, $75 with $40 million guaranteed. Geno Smith's cap hit in this first year, 10.1. Cap hit in the second year, 26.4. Cap hit in the third year, which you can get out of, 44.5. So if you're the Raiders and you design a contract and you got the guy that literally designed this contract with Sam Darnold, you should jump on board, because this is what I think it could end up looking like. 3 years, $90 million. You give Darnold $50 million guaranteed, and you stack it with some cash incentives that only come out of the pocket of Mark Davis. And as I've said before, I don't care if it costs Mark cash. It doesn't hurt the Raiders' plan to be able to build a successful team for salary cap-wise. But if you're telling me right now you'd be able to get Sam Darnold at 15.1 in the first year, at 31.4, I mean, combining that number together, I mean, $47 million for 2 years for Sam Darnold is okay. And then that third year, it's the largest cap hit, but you don't make any of it guaranteed. The way that quarterback contracts are structured are looking more and more like this. It's what Howie Roseman has been doing for a long time. So let's just say we're sitting here together. Breaking news rolls in. You're with Jeremy Chuggs and I on Monday when we start NFL free agency. I want you to grade this contract. A, B, C, D, or F. How would you do this for Sam Darnold? And I'm telling you this right now, if this is the contract that ends up rolling in for Darnold on a cap hit basis per year, it is an A grade from me. Don't get me wrong, Justin Fields' contract would be less and less and less, right? Kind of like this. The Russell Wilson contract would be less, but all I care about is trying to win football games in year one, get the ball rolling a little bit, and if Darnold throws for 30 touchdowns, 30, even 26 touchdowns. I mean, we have finally got a quarterback, and that's at a damn good price tag with how much money we have in salary cap and how much draft picks we have out there. Coming up next here, let's get into some NFL news that you need to see. And I mean, there was a lot of shit that happened today. A lot of dominoes ended up falling, and I think that there's a lot of stuff that's going to make you smile here on today's show. Before we get into it, though, huge shout out to our sponsor, Panda Supps, and I want you to try out their brand new Super Nootropic. Use code DRAFT at 25% off at pandasups.com. You can get the Super Nootropic and strawberry watermelon, peach mango, and pink lemonade. Sustain energy and boost mental clarity with our premium Super Nootropic Focus from Panda Supps. Accomplish all of your daily tasks with our powerful Nootropic Focus. This formulation, designed by experts, assists with helping you maximize focus and sustain energy levels all day long, while also optimizing your performance throughout your entire day. Just one scoop of focus pushes you to amplify your workout, whether you're a gamer, a fitness enthusiast, or just looking to improve your daily productivity without the crash that so many other products on the market today have. If you're trying to get off caffeine, if you don't want to drink these energy drinks, if you need something that wakes up your mind instead of waking up your entire body, I'm telling you right now, Super Nootropics are going to be in the rotation during NFL free agency week for Jeremy Chuggs and I think that you guys would like it as well. Pandasups.com, code DRAFT, links down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So let's kind of go through here and look at some of the big NFL news that happened today. The first one is, well, not the first one, but the first one I want to talk about. The Jets gave up a third-round pick for Davante Adams, and who ended up playing only 11 games for them. They clear $30 million in cap space. I know that there's reports out right now that the Raiders want to bring in a number one receiver. I want nothing to do with Davante Adams. The only way I am interested in the idea of Tay rejoining the Raiders is if he takes a deal that's a very cheap deal that proves to me that he cares about more than somebody than himself. What about Adam Schefter? A big trade that ended up going down. The Rams ended up sending Jonah Jackson to the Chicago Bears, so there's a little bit of a rejoin. I'm trying to think of the right word there. Reunite, that's the right word. I knew it began with an R. Ends up getting reunited over there, which, again, Chicago needed offensive line help. Thought it made a lot of sense for both sides. The Cowboys, they ended up franchise tagging, or thought it was going to be a franchise tag with Osu Odigizua. They ended up giving him an extension there, 4 years, $80 million, $58 million guaranteed. Also, another big-time extension, Saquon Barkley, 2 years, $41.2 million, which now makes him the highest-paid running back in the NFL. The fact that a lot of these deals ended up happening today, I think you always got to learn from when other NFL teams do stuff, what does that mean for the Raiders? Because dominoes, when they start falling, it impacts all 32 teams. And to me, those were the biggest news items from today that could potentially impact the Raiders. And one that literally just happened at the time I'm recording. The Saints, they just released veteran running back Jamal Williams. Coming up next here, we're going to look at the Raiders Combine meeting tracker. And I know I did this one over the weekend last week when our Chat Sports team was down there in Indy, and I only went through some of the names that we got at that time. I actually don't think that quarterbacks, offensive line tested yet. So what we're going to go through here is we're going to go through every single player that the Raiders met with at the NFL Combine. First, let's talk about the quarterbacks. These are the 6 QBs that Las Vegas did end up meeting with, according to what we have been told. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, and Will Howard. I will also say that I was told that the Raiders were impressed by Jalen Milroe, but based off the Combine visits, I don't know if they actually ended up meeting with him in a, formal setting. More running backs here the Raiders ended up meeting with: Quinshad Junkins, Trevion Henderson, and Ashton Genty. So I'll tell you what, it's kind of an interesting list. Obviously, we know Chip Kelly's got his connections to Ohio State, but then the only other back was Ashton Genty. Something to think about. Wide receiver visits. You got T-Mac, who's probably going to be in the top 6 picks there. Emeka Ibuka, wide receiver from Ohio State, probably going to be a first-rounder. Jalen Noel and Tez Johnson, more of day 2 type of prospects. I don't know if Jalen Noel falls to round 4. I'd be ecstatic if he did. No, I know, but I'm like, Tez will definitely go a little bit earlier, but both wide receivers to keep an eye on. Offensive line. This one I thought was really interesting. They met with 2 offensive tackles, one from William & Mary, another one from Oregon, only 2 offensive line visits. Again, formal meetings at the Combine is what we are discussing here. On the defensive line, 4 edges, 1 defensive tackle. That defensive tackle that they ended up meeting with was Mason Graham. Obviously, the names down there you should look at. Mike Green didn't have that good of a combine. Josiah Stewart, but JT Tulamalo, however you pronounce that last name, he's on the radar as well. Every Ohio State prospect the Raiders are going to be paying a very close attention to. On the defensive side of the football, continuing here from a cornerback standpoint, I love the cornerbacks that the Raiders met with. And when you look at a lot of these names, all these players are going to go in the first 2 days of the NFL draft. Maybe, just maybe, Kobe ends up sliding to round 4 because he did struggle a little bit. Same with Benjamin Morrison. But Jahdae Barron, Will Johnson, I love me some Siobhan Revel. Trey Amos is another very sneaky option on day 2. From a safety standpoint, they met with a lot of safeties, and that's what's going to happen when you're trying to replace, Trevon Merrick and Marcus Epps. The one name that I love on this is Xavier Watts. He's probably one of my favorite safety prospects in this year's class. Also, Malachi Moore. I don't know exactly when you're going to be able to get him. I see him go really, really late in mocks. But Malachi Moore has been a name that I've heard a few times around the Raiders locker rooms. And then final, the linebacker position from Danny Stutzman. Carson Schwechlinger, who I love watching him play. He's just one of those fun linebackers that's always in the right spot at the right time. Cody Simon from Ohio State, and then Jackson Woodard. Jackson Woodard is one of those players where when the Raiders do their official top 30 visits, that one's not going to count as a top 30 visit because he lives in the area. Therefore, they don't have to count it as a top 30 overall visit. That is every single player that the Raiders had a formal meeting with at the NFL Combine. If you haven't already, give me a follow on Instagram or Twitter. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365, and I'm telling you this right now. We already do a lot of content on the Raiders Report. Wait till you see how much stuff that we do next week. You're probably going to be getting 25, 30 hours of me on live, and that's not counting all the other stuff that we're going to be providing. If you want the best free agency coverage around the Las Vegas Raiders, you better make sure you're subscribing. You better make sure that you join us because we're going to be live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week here on the Raiders Report.